Welcome back, Cord and Friends, episode 6, almost halfway through our first season. Thank you for tuning in, man. We greatly appreciate it. Hope everything's going good for you and your family. Lot to do this week, lot to get into. I also have a special surprise for you. Our newest team member, local superstar, my good friend Niko, will be joining the show. Going to be giving us an inside look at the NFC South. Stick around for that. We also got our NBA guru, Kevin, and to close out our show, as usual, bad boy Bill. You're listening to Cord and Friends, episode 6. We'll be back in 10 seconds.
This is an alert from Central Dispatch. Major disturbance reported.
It's the greatest show of all time.
So I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but during a soccer game, we had a ref pull a gun during the match. Now that on the surface seems a little extreme, but I gotta tell you that there have been tons of times to where goalies or referees have been killed or sought after matches. They take that shit seriously in some places. It's interesting to me that sports has kind of become a substitute for warfare. It's very interesting to see that kind of phenomena take place, but I don't really know how else to classify it other than that. I'm not a huge fan of watching baseball, and there are tons of things that turn me off to it, but one thing in particular is the umpire's ego. They'll stop the game, they'll have stare downs with the pitcher, they'll throw people out of the game for looking at them the wrong way. People that are paying to go to these baseball games, they don't give a damn who is the umpire. They have no idea who the umpire is. It's just funny that the ego exists, man. It's our greatest strength is our greatest weakness. It's funny stuff, man. But still a lot to do. We're going to talk about Pete Rose today. Got a couple other things on the docket to go. But next up, our newest team member, local superstar, my good friend Niko, will be joining us to give us an inside look at the NFC South. This is Cord and Friends, episode 6, almost halfway through our first season. We'll be back in 10 seconds.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
This will not look good on a resume!
What up, guys? This is motherfucking Niko. So the Saints picked up their first win for the season against the Dallas Cowboys. Brees' 400th touchdown pass finally put him in those rankings along with Tom Brady and Brett Favre, I guess, if you'd like. Motherfucker had an 80-yard pass to C.J. Spiller for a 26-20 overtime victory. That was pretty killer, man. Not to mention that Tony Romo's gone right now. It might have been an easier win for them, coming back with they only have, 3 rookies. They started this game. A lot of injuries been going on this season, and so far it's been looking kind of crazy. But I think you're going to see the Saints start coming back pretty quick. Drew Brees is what I consider, a potential leader in the fact that he will step up and he will pull this team out of the slump they've been in. The Falcons, right now they are second in the NFC South with their 4th victory against the fucking Texans. And I don't know if it's the Texans are just not that good or if they're having a bad season. But even with Adrian Foster's return, he had no room to run. Falcons defense kept them at a pretty stagnant standstill. Let's talk about Devontae Freeman, the running back. 6 touchdowns in the past 2 games. They're under new head coach Dan Quinn. This guy obviously knows what he's fucking doing. He's been pulling this team through the whole season. 4-0. And this is the 4th time in their franchise history that they've had this kind of record. Yes, I am a Panthers fan too, so I'm a little biased when it comes to that. But that's going to be a hard game for us back in December. I'm going to go ahead and do the Bucks and the Panthers together. Why? Because the Bucks lost to the Panthers, and it was pretty brutal. If you watch that game, all I got to say for Tampa Bay is this kicker, this rookie kicker that they have, 1 in 3. in yesterday's game. Okay, he's lost 6 kicks in the past 2 games. Like, what are they doing? You guys gonna have to start shopping for another kicker. Although they say that Lovie Smith is not looking to find a new kicker right now. You know, he's just doing his job, trying his best. I wouldn't know if I would say he's trying his best. You don't miss 3 kicks in 1 game. That's just ridiculous. But James Winston, you know, I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think he's a rookie quarterback. He threw 287 yards and 2 touchdowns yesterday. Although, a couple of those throws ended up in the hands of Josh Norman. He had 2 interceptions yesterday, and one of them was for a 46-yard touchdown. The other, a 34-yard touchdown. So, Norman knows what he's doing. He's looking for those balls, man. And he knew how to read that rookie quarterback. Wasn't a pretty sight. Unless you're a Panthers fan, then it was a beautiful sight. Other interceptions, Coleman and Thomas Davis both had interceptions. And I'm going to go ahead and say a play of the game. I know because I didn't say them for the other ones, but you know what? The Panthers were the ones I was really watching for. And I don't know if you saw John Stewart fumble the ball and recovered by Ed Dixon, who is a reserve tight end for the Panthers. Picked that motherfucker up and ran it down. He's a 225-pound, veteran player, and it was pretty incredible to watch. So right now, we're looking at 2 teams with 1-3, and then 2 teams with 4-0 in the NFC South. NFC South has always been considered kind of a joke in, the NFL. I feel like it's not a very respected division, and people kind of just like it's just a bunch of young teams. I think you're about to see some quality football coming from these teams. I think you can expect to see the Panthers and the Falcons really take off. We're going to see how they do against each other. The Panthers have kind of seen a season that hasn't been too tough. I think you're really about to see these 2 teams take off in the NFL. So right now, my predictions for the NFC South, I think you're going to see the Saints kind of come back. They're going to pull through with Breeze back. Maybe not go too far, but they're going to start coming back. The battle still is going to be between the Panthers and the Falcons. Both teams show a lot of promise right now. The Falcons have already shown that they can beat some high-quality teams. They just got to stick with it. Hopefully Matt Ryan can pull them through to the next couple of victories. We'll be seeing them in December. As for the Bucs, I think Jameis Winston is starting to show that under pressure he makes good decisions. Now he's still a rookie, so expect about 2 more years of this. Keep an eye for him doing what he's doing. He's gonna start pulling his team in the right direction. And get rid of freaking Lovey. I mean, come on. This guy has been making shitty decisions for this team for too long. Also, they need a new kicker. I'm going to go ahead and say it. They need a new kicker. And the Saints, hopefully we see some new life from them. With Drew Brees back at the helm, I feel that he kind of helps that team pull through. He's a great quarterback. He always has been. He makes good decisions. I'm scared to see what he's going to do. I'm not going to lie. So those are my predictions. If you want to follow along with my crazy antics and what I think about the Panthers, Twitter handle is DerekS121, and you can follow me on Instagram at StarsFall121 with 2 R's.
Thank you very much, Niko. Great job. Catch him week in and week out on our show with us, Gordon Friends, episode 6. Gonna take a quick short break here. We'll be back in 10 seconds.
Don't you ever fuck with the best corner in the game. Who's talking now? Crabtree! Don't you ever fuck with the best corner in the game. Alright?
So over the next couple of months, we are supposed to get a decision from Major League Baseball on Pete Rose's reinstatement. Now, I'm not sure if a lot of the kids that listen to the show never saw Pete Rose and might not even know who he is. Phenomenal baseball player, but what happened is he got in trouble for betting on some of the games that he played in, not necessarily betting against his team, but just gambling on games that he was a part of, banned for life from Major League Baseball and activities. However, is still a big figure in the communities of the teams that he played for, mainly Cincinnati. And the Major League Baseball has a new commissioner, so we should hopefully see some results. I'm pulling for Pete Rose, but it's just honesty is the best policy. There have been times to where he's kind of got his foot stuck in his mouth. Now, there are going to be certain circumstances, like if you get pulled over by the police, then okay, only give them yes and no, sir, answers. Sure, you don't have to incriminate yourself. But at the end of the day, if you get yourself wrapped up in something, it's better just to be honest about it, because 9 times out of the 10, the person's just going to be more mad that you lied about it. So that's just some advice I can give you from one man to another. try not to put your foot in your mouth the best you can. Sometimes it's going to be unavoidable, I understand that. But next up, we got NBA guru and basketball expert Kevin. He'll get us ready for the upcoming tip-offs for the 2015-2016 NBA season, which I know you're excited about. So stick around for Kevin. You are listening to Court and Friends, Episode 6. Almost halfway through our first season. We'll be back in 10 seconds.
Hola amigos, amigas, más que amigos, amigas, tengan buenas tardes todos ustedes, será para su amigo DJ Charlie, desde los United States, complace para todo el mundo, con el conjunto de ustedes, alternando con DJ Shama. So first things first, I want to start off with Derrick Rose. Obviously, he got hurt again, which is again adding to that narrative of being injury-plagued. I think this one was a little bit different and kind of ironic. He had just caught some heat from a few days earlier in training camp, I think when they had media day in Chicago, and he said something along the lines of, like, maybe he would be interested in testing free agency in 2017 if the dollar amount wasn't right, because with the new TV deal going through, the salary cap is about to explode in the NBA. And, he's already making, I think, $20 million a year, and now he wants probably more. So anyway, basically what happened, for those that don't know, he got the orbital bone cracked in his face during training camp practice. Looks like he's only going to be out a few weeks. A lot of that will depend, though, on the swelling and the placement. But I think for right now they're saying 2 weeks. Now, this won't impact short term. He'll be back before the season starts. I think they open with the Cavs in like 3.5 weeks or whatever, so he should be back. But just some interesting tidbits about his injury. Since the 2011-12 season, the Bulls, without Derrick Rose, are 113-80, which is around 71% winning percentage, which isn't bad. And I think the big reason for that, there are a couple reasons. One was Tibbs, great defense. Two, they've always had really good supporting guys around Derrick. And the last one is they're in the Eastern Conference, which has just been historically bad past few seasons. And then just putting a little bit more into perspective, last 2 seasons alone, Derrick Rose missed 103 games. So we're hoping he gets better. But, as far as the big picture, I think we have to look at, like I said, it doesn't really impact the short term. I think what it does is impact the long term for Derrick Rose and the Bulls. Mentally, is it going to affect the guys he's playing with? Are they always, every time he falls on the floor, they're going to think, oh, great, here he goes. Or are they going to have less confidence in him to do stuff? As well as the coaching staff, are they going to have less confidence in him to do things because he's such an explosive player? Are they going to be worried about giving him a lot of minutes? And then on top of that, with that free agency looming, will the Bulls be willing to throw a lot of money towards Derrick Rose? Or are they going to be a little gun-shy? Is Derrick Rose going to be a Bull moving forward? I think these are some things that we need to look at because it's going to get interesting. Hopefully this year he can play full and healthy. But right now it's been a very tough road for Derrick Rose. He is definitely snake-bitten. So moving on. Oh, man. So obviously with Media Day hitting training camp, they've already played a few preseason games. Let's talk about Phil stirring the pot as well as some Stephen A. Smith stuff. So for those of you that haven't heard, there was a rumor circulating at the end of the summer that Melo was going to actively be recruiting Kevin Durant. And then that rumor had another layer added to it a few days later that it was possible that they were going to make a run at Kobe Bryant as well. So, after knowing that little tidbit of knowledge, Media Day, Phil Jackson, Derek Fisher, they're up there. Phil, obviously, Kobe's old coach. Derek, obviously, his right-hand man for so long. And Phil said this when a reporter basically asked questions like, what do you think about Kobe Bryant's last season? Phil says, and I quote, "I don't think it's Kobe's last season. Sounds like it may be his last as a Laker." Phil, being Phil, stirring the pot like only he can do. If not OKC, the Lakers are the likely landing spot for Kevin Durant. So again, just complete chaos. And we haven't even tipped off a real game yet. But touching back on Phil, him saying that is definitely Phil taking a shot probably at the Lakers organization, also planting those seeds of doubt. I don't think Kobe is very likely to play anywhere else. But I think Phil saying that it's going to put that kind of doubt, especially if things aren't going great in L.A., it's going to put that doubt out there because a lot of people are going to look at that situation and say, well, if Kobe was going to play anywhere else besides the Lakers, why wouldn't it be for Derek Fisher and Phil Jackson? But still some very interesting storylines right there involving Kevin Durant, the Lakers, Kobe, Phil, Melo, and the Knicks. So keep an eye on that, see if that rumor dies or if that rumor plays it out. And I think a lot of that will have to do with the success of Oklahoma City and Billy Donovan, and a lot will have to do with what's going on with the Lakers. Are the Lakers going to even re-sign Kobe if he wants to come back? I think that's kind of what Phil was saying. So very interesting stuff right there. Again, piggybacking on kind of what we talked about last time, interesting article by Kevin Ding about LeBron taking on a lesser role. We said the MVP race, or I said the MVP race, I like Anthony Davis, depending on that team's record. I know a lot of people are looking at LeBron before the season starts as like, hey, he's going to have a monster year, he's angry. I disagreed. I think he's obviously still the best player in the world, but he is going to take on a lesser role, not because he necessarily has to, but because it's the smarter move, it's the better move. He has enough pieces around him. He doesn't have to be at such a high usage rate. And just a couple little quotes he had to kind of complement this. When they asked him, like, are you ready to go? He said, definitely use a couple more months off. Some other tidbits of quotes he said, Kevin Love will allow me to sit a whole lot this year and won't have to worry about playing big minutes. So, again, I think what LeBron's trying to do is get back to more efficient play. He was a little less efficient last year than he has been in the past couple seasons. But definitely take credence that he is going to take a lesser role. He's still obviously going to be the number one guy, but he's going to take a lesser role. And I kind of looked at the 13th season, which LeBron's going into, of Kobe Bryant and Kevin Garnett, and their minutes, respectively. Kobe's was at 36, which was down about 4 minutes. He played almost 40 minutes a game the previous season. KG was all the way down to 32.8, and that was his first year in Boston. So very interesting. I think career minutes for LeBron James is around 39 a game, which is very high. He's played in 911 regular season games, so look for those regular season numbers to drop a little bit. But I think he will become more efficient, but less gaudy numbers, which is probably not going to be able to get him that MVP award. And then the last thing, Steve Kerr's going on leave. Had some back surgeries, not recovering well. Luke Walton taking over. Luke Walton's coaching experience pretty small. 2011 assistant with Memphis while the NBA was in lockout, and then the LA Defenders in 2013-14. And last year, obviously, he was an assistant with Golden State. Short-term, long-term outlook on that is I think Golden State will be fine. Steve Kerr getting back whenever he needs to. They're not in danger of not making the playoffs with Luke Walton as the coach. I think he'll be well-respected, has a couple rings as a player, has a ring now as an assistant coach. I think those guys will gravitate towards him. He's a smart guy, always been a smart guy. So it'll be interesting to see how it does. And also it'll be a good audition for him, possibly getting a head coaching job in the future if he can kind of keep this thing together.
Another ride. Drop that rhythm and you unwind. Keep that feeling and you step and dive. Are you ready for a real life suicide? Drop that rhythm and you unwind. Keep that feeling and you step and dive. Are you ready for a real life suicide?
So I got one more thing I want to talk about. The Chicago Cubs have been under a curse for a long, long time, and they are on the verge of their first playoff game in 7 years. And a couple decades ago now, there was a guy named Steve Bartman, and he was sitting in the stands during an important Chicago Cubs game, and he interfered with a catch that really had a profound impact on the game. And the Cubs fans in Chicago really gave him hell. And anyway, long story short, there was a campaign online, GoFundMe I believe it was, is to get him to come to the Cubs game, because he hasn't been to a game since then. I mean, the treatment he received was so bad. I mean, people were following him to work, people were threatening to kill him. I mean, I'm shocked that he still lives in the area. But apparently the group raised, it looks like almost $3,000 for the ticket for the guy, and the guy turned it down. And I can't say I blame him. It would be so bad. The fandom and the obsessions and the borderline almost hatred, especially in rivalry moments or big game moments, can almost be out of hand. When I was in Seattle and we would go to the Hawk games, if we were playing the Niners, then there would be Seattle policemen dressed up as 49ers fans. And the same thing in San Francisco. In San Francisco, if the Hawks and Niners were playing, the cops in San Francisco will be wearing Hawk jerseys, just because there's so much animosity between certain fan bases. We were talking about soccer earlier. You see it in baseball. I mean, there are guys that get their head smashed in. I've had family members get in fights at games. I mean, it's just it's almost too much. I'm obsessive about sports. I mean, hell, we have a podcast about nothing but sports and culture. But at the same time, you got to be able to turn it on or off. And I'm guilty of it myself. I was walking around the other day and I saw some guy wearing some Michigan stuff, and he shot me a dirty look. Of course, I got nothing but Seahawks stuff on, But if I punched every single guy that deserved to get punched in the face, that's all I would be doing. Be walking around all day just punching people. It's not really what you can do for a living. And I'm guilty of it myself. It's, easy for me to sit here and throw stones and shit, but, I'm the same asshole getting into fights at fucking fantasy football draft parties. Fucking ridiculous, man. So, word to you, word to the people, and word to myself, let's try to take it easy and just remember it is a game and it's supposed to be fun. So last but not least, to close our show, as usual, Bad Boy Bill, our in-house betting expert. He'll hit this wide world of sports updates and the need-to-know hot topics here and beyond. You're listening to Court and Friends, Episode 6, almost halfway through our season. Be back in 10 seconds with Bad Boy Bill.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
I hope everyone has survived this Hurricane Joaquin, or whatever the hell they decided to name it. We had sweeping through the dirty, dirty South recently. I know South Carolina got hit pretty hard. A lot of flooding going on down there. Hope all my South Carolina folkery are okay. Other than that, it was no big deal here in Charlotte area. My number one survival hurricane tip: just stay off the damn road. All throughout Charlotte, there's an inch of rainwater on the roads, and drivers act like it's a foot of snow. All over the news, that's all you see, all over the local weather channel. It's just, they act like it's a monsoon outside, like they've never seen rain before, and it's the end of the world. You gotta rush, go to the store and get your bread and get your eggs and all that. It's not like you can't just order a pizza with a pizza emoji from Domino's. Over the last week, with Yogi Berra passing and him being pretty much the greatest hitting catcher ever, I feel like a lot of people kind of forgot all about that. He played in 75 career World Series games, more than anyone. And talk about clutch, still to this day, he has more World Series hits than anyone ever as well. That's more than the great Derek Jeter and even the Mickey Mantle himself. This all had me thinking, like, what other records do people think will remain unbroken forever? I always remember Cal Ripken's most consecutive games played of 2,632 games. It's one record I witnessed in my lifetime I don't think will ever be broken. The dude just showed up to play, suited and booted up, and just went to work. I can appreciate that. Over the weekend, man, is anyone watching college football anymore? I usually allow my NFL Sunday thoughts to take over my college Saturdays, but this weekend, lots of excitement. My sleeper team, Clemson, because I'm always in the mix with my Deep South roots, the ACC and SEC teams. They beat out Notre Dame in a thriller. Like their coach said, rain, sleet, or snow, Tiger Nation will show. In the Pac-12, everyone's been gabbing all about UCLA. I think it's a little bit premature. That was proven. They got smashed up pretty bad by Arizona State. Ole Miss, they got blown out 38-10 in the swamp. Gators ate them up this weekend. All huge upsets. And again, this week, Ohio State, like I spoke on last time a little bit, man, they have some sketchy first halves, but always managed to come out with a W. Definitely an amazing team to watch, but I'm still not sure how long that team will work. And of course, I am a Urban Meyer hater. Yes, it is me. Is it me, or does he always look confused on the sidelines and like he just really isn't in the moment? He always looks like he's daydreaming and confused to me. I don't know what's going on there. And be on the lookout for Harbaugh in Michigan and Alabama making a strong comeback. Those are two also very exciting teams. The running back for LSU, he's been going ham. If you want to see NFL talent at a college level, tune into his game next week and his skill set. He just rushed for 200-plus yards for his third straight game. Looking pretty amazing out there. Now for some random topics that we had previously talked about. RG3, or formerly known as RG3, I feel bad for, as he may just be shell-shocked. I don't know if he has the confidence within to elevate and change his style of play into a more standard league pocket passer. He's shown that he can't take the hard hits that accompany being a mobile quarterback and making those testy escapes to the sideline. I hope all those hits and injuries aren't in the back of his mind, haunting and ruining his success on the field, but it appears that way. He definitely needs to get out of Washington and get a fresh start somewhere and try and salvage that career. That's pretty much my thoughts on him. Other than that, I'm just tired of RG3 and hearing about it. Just move on. You got Cam Newton, Super Cam, or even Scam Newton, whatever you want to call him. Love him or hate him, he's off to an awesome 4-0 start and putting up crazy numbers on the stat charts. My only criticism of him is his childish ego at times, like with the news story that broke, I think last week with him and the ref supposedly telling him that he wasn't old enough to get a call. I love Cam and hate when people hate on him. He has been doing it all himself this year with very limited skilled receivers to throw it to. I'm impressed. I just wish he had the fire and drive to just go in, go ham, and go to work. I always see him in the news for something, whether it be him flipping over his SUV on an uptown street, sitting on the sideline with his head covered by a towel, pouting, or trying to blast a ref for a comment he may or may not have even said. Just ball out and show out, bro. I hate to admit it, although staying hopeful, I'm not too confident in their 4-0 start yet. Strength of schedule for them has been weak, and we haven't really even been tested yet. I'm worried about the Dirty Birds down in Atlanta, who are also 4-0, and an easy remaining schedule for them, unlike ours, that only gets tougher, including facing Atlanta twice. You spoke earlier about Papelbon versus Harper issue. That incident happens more often than you think in baseball. It just kind of comes to the territory. It just usually doesn't get exposed because it's not in the dugout. But hell, I've seen it as prominent at even a high school level personally. Regardless, Papelbon didn't really want that in his life. He didn't really want to throw hands with Harper. That's why he grabbed his throat. Shout out to Scherzer also, pitching his second no-hitter of the season, by the way, this week. Shava. All right, my usual locks and picks for the upcoming week. Seahawks -10 tonight at home. Looking for them to make a comeback this week against the Lions, who are just straight up trash. Look for the Hawks to win big tonight. I got the Dirty Birds at home against the Redskins. I really like Atlanta and that stacked-ass offense. Falcons -9 at home. That should be automatic. Denver -5.5 in Oaktown. Go ahead and lock that in. Oakland can't beat anybody. And it's kind of a toss-up between which I like best. With Green Bay at home -10 facing the Rams. I love Green Bay to win, but that's a high spread. And the G-Men -7 against the 49ers, who apparently just really suck this year. And on a quick side note, I'm calling the Blue Jays to take it all this year in baseball. Throw all your money on them for the World Series champs this year, just like I've been telling you all year. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. And as always, pretty much that's it. Coming at you with straight knowledge week in and week out. Sit back and give us a listen and be on the lookout for our next podcast. Look out for me on Twitter at TheRealBill704 and let me or us know what you guys want to hear. Let us know what you want to talk about. And real quick, whoever stole my grandmother's car this weekend, I'm going to find your ass. Till next time, I'm out.